Tuesday, the 24th of June, 2025. Like to welcome those in the gallery tonight, our CEO, council officers, my councillors, of course, and all of those that may be watching online. I'll call on Councillor Barini, who is attending virtually tonight, and I'll ask Councillor Barini whether he can see the councillors and hear the proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can hear the proceedings and see all the councillors and council officers.
Thanks, Councillor. I'll ask each councillor to confirm by raising their hand that they could hear Councillor Breen. Thanks, councillors. Apologies are nil, I believe, Madam CEO. Thanks. Item 4, the statement of commitment. As councillors of Mansfield Shire, we are committed to ensuring our behaviour meets the standards set by the Model Councillor Code of Conduct. We will at all times faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in us by our community. I'll ask each councillor to confirm their commitment, please. Councillor Teahan.
I confirm my commitment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure.
I confirm my commitment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
I confirm my commitment.
Thank you. And Councillor Barini.
I confirm my commitment.
Thank you. Item 5, the acknowledgement of country, Deputy Mayor.
Our meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Taungurung people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to all members of our community.
Thank you. Item 6, disclosure of conflicts of interest. I'll call on each councillor to declare whether they have any conflicts of interest in relation to any agenda items tonight. Councillor Teahan.
I have no conflicts of interest, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure.
No conflicts to any agenda items, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
No conflicts for me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Barini.
Yes, I do have conflict to declare. It is in relation to agenda item 13.2.3, the GNCU MOU and solar savers, as my role of chair of that committee, and agenda item 18.3 of the confidential agenda relating to personal relationship with one of the tenderers.
Thank you, Councillor Barini. And for the record, I have no conflict of interest on any agenda item tonight. Confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting held on the 21st of May 2025, councillors. Councillor Teahan.
The minutes of the Mansfield Shire Council meeting held on the 21st of May 2025 be confirmed as an accurate record.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Treasure. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 8, representations. There are none. Item 9, notices of motion. There are none. Item 10 is the Mayor's report, and I'll take that as read, councillors. Councillor Clark.
I'll move that council receive the Mayor's report for the period 21st of May 2025 to the 18th of June 2025.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure. All those in favour of that motion? Motion is carried. Item 11, reports from council appointed representatives. So the committees are Australia Day Awards Committee hasn't met. Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, I believe, Councillor Brenny, you've met?
Not since last meeting.
Oh, okay, yep.
Sorry, the North East West.
Yeah, North East West, yeah, okay. Hume Regional Local Government Network, the Harolgum. I was an apology, but Madam CEO, you were there. Could you give us a brief report, please?
Yep, happy to do so, Mr. Mayor. There was a discussion at the Haralgan meeting about a comprehensive submission that was made to the state government's task force on behalf of all communities that are covered in the Hume region local government network. Mansfield did contribute to that submission, and that was supported by all Haralgan members and was sent to the task force. There was also a presentation from the Department of Treasury and Finance in relation to the Business Acceleration Fund. It's an opportunity that Council has achieved funding through before, and there was a couple of ideas that were discussed amongst the Haralgan members. And there was also a presentation from Regional Development Australia on the priorities that they have received as part of their engagement with local government. So a bit of an overview provided there.
Thanks, Madam CEO. The Mansfield Shire Audit and Risk Committee, Councillor Treasure.
Yes, Mr Mayor, there was an audit and risk meeting held on 26th of May. It was attended by external members, Councillors Raby and Treasurer, executive staff and representatives from AFS and Associates, the internal auditors, and the Victorian Auditor General's Office, the external auditors. Some of the items discussed included cyber security, implementation to avoid cyber attacks and response plan in case of a breach, regular IT testing checks, moving archived documents for streamlined access versus the increased vulnerability to hacking. Contractors engaged by Mansfield Shire Council must adhere to the same privacy clause guidelines as employees, and ensuring all funding avenues are explored to maintain services to the community, such as the freezer program. The financials show the Mansfield Shire is tracking well against the budget and benchmarks for the current financial year. The risks raised were possible cash flow issues for 25-26. Since that meeting, Council has revisited the budget and some capital works programs have been put on hold based on priority or funding availability. And some cuts to the operating budgets were also done to mitigate the risk to our cash position. There's been some issues with the Auditor Generals around the external audit due to a lack of communication and some missed deadlines. Mansfield Shire Council has requested that due dates are given in advance by the Auditor General to resolve these issues going forward. Internal audit, OH&S and risk management. As a small shire, Mansfield does not have specialised staff as larger councils do. However, the committee model does seem to work satisfactorily from the feedback. The payroll audit is to be conducted in July and presented to the November meeting. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Treasure. Very good report. Mansfield Shire CEO Employment Matters Committee has not met. MAV has not met. The North East Local Government Waste and Recovery Forum has met on the 6th of May, and it's Councillor Brenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we met out at the Wangaratta Organics facility and got a tour by their waste team, which was really great. The main topic of discussion was the standardisation of the bin services and seeing where all the other surrounding councils and what their plans were for it, which we've discussed briefly previously. Everyone's holding out until 2027, the final date, to just see if there can be more pushback on Recycling Victoria for less urbanised approach to this waste stream. But Wangaratta is going to start rolling theirs out as of July this year, so it'll be interesting to see how they go with it. Next meeting is in August, and that'll be in Benalla, where we hope to get a tour of their proposed landfill site. And it's been good collaboration so far between the officers that are there. That is all.
Thanks, Councillor Brenny. Rural Councils of Victoria hasn't met, Station Precinct hasn't met, and Trungorong Local Government Forum has not met. So that is the reports for this month. Councillor Treasurer.
The council note the verbal reports provided by councillors in relation to their representation on internal and external committees.
Thank you. Councillor Clark. All those in favour of the motion? Yeah, motion is carried. Item 12 is public question time, and there are no questions tonight. Item 13.1 is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Councillors, have you got any comments or questions for the CEO? Find Councillor Brenny on the line there. You're shaking your head, all right?
None from me, thanks,
well,
Mr. Mayor.
there's a recommendation on the page. Councillor Clark.
I'll move that council receive and note the Chief Executive Officer's report for the period 1st of May 2025 to the 31st of May 2025.
Thank you. We've got a seconder. Councillor Fraser. Do you want to speak to the motion at all, Councillor Clark?
I do not. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Treasure, you want to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Does anyone want to speak for or against the motion? In that case, I'll put it to a vote. Those in favour of the motion? That motion is carried. Thank you. Item 13.2.1 comes under investment and planning, the Goffs Bay plan, and our responsible officers, Ms. Embling, but I'm a CI, yes.
She's there.
Hello, Ms. Embling. Welcome.
Good evening, thank you.
Online there. Welcome to our meeting. Councillors, have you got any questions for our council officer on 13.2.1? No?
No.
All right.
I do.
You do.
I do. Yeah.
Councillor.
My
Things frozen.
attachments aren't coming up.
One of yours mine.
No, because you wouldn't have the questions written
Oh.
on there. Well, you shouldn't. Okay. Housing. And okay, with the where are we? Resembling, right, okay. The integrated wastewater management plan. How is it progressing? Because it's the real basis for the Goffs Bay plan really hinges on the outcomes of the wastewater plan. So where are we with that? When are we likely to see that come to council?
Certainly through you, Mr. Mayor. I might defer that one to Melissa Crane, but just before I do, I did want to make mention that it is definitely a big part of that plan, that part of the vision for the Goffs Bay community is to achieve a better wastewater outcome for the whole community. But when you look at the actions included in the Goffs Bay plan, there are a lot of short-term goals and achievable things in there that aren't related to wastewater that we hope to see as really positive outcomes for that community as well. But if our General Manager is happy to take that question, I will pass it over to her.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Certainly, the Goffs Bay Integrated Wastewater, I'm hoping you can hear me clearly enough. Apologies, my microphone's not as good as it normally is. The integrated wastewater management feasibility is being undertaken at the moment. Council officers have done an extensive internal review and work through with the consultant on that, on the work that came back, making sure that we fully interrogate any of the assumptions that are being made behind how feasible it will or won't be to put in some form of reticulated water and sewer provisioning within Goffs Bay, knowing that this is a catalyst project for the area. So the consultant is in the process now of finalising the options that will come back to council, which we'll be able to take back to the community to do further engagement on and explain, you know, what it might look like, what a solution might look like, what the how that may or may not be funded, and what the cost implications would be for residents at that point. So there is work still to be done in that space, but we did not want to go to the community with it without fully interrogating and understanding the detail of that proposal, because it is a big thing that has to be done out there. So yeah, there's been a lot of work in that space. I'm happy to for our CEO to make any further comments, because she has been we've been very heavily involved in it as well. We take it very seriously. So there is a lot of work. We're hoping to come to council before the end of this year. But we also know that there are implications for our community. So we don't want to commit to what that will look like without having heard from them in the first instance.
Yeah, it's currently at the stage we're awaiting the cost benefit calculations. So that is when Ms. Crane says we're interrogating it, yes, we're interrogating those costs very carefully. Yeah, so we're pretty close to getting that response back from the consultant. There's been a few rounds.
I guess the statement on page 16 of the report highlights the fact that there's 30 vacant blocks left in the township. And beyond this, further infill development opportunities are limited until we can. So if we want to, not that I agree with the state government's housing strategy, but if we were to try and play our part in assisting that, then we would be asking for the state government for a big amount of funding, or perhaps 100% of the funding, to develop this wastewater reticulated system in Goffs Bay. Would that be fair assessment, Ms. Crane?
I'm happy to.
So I'm happy to talk to that. So there is a level of there are different ways that the installation of a wastewater treatment facility or options could be done within Goffs Bay. There's always, with wastewater management, with reticulated systems, there's always an element of user pay. So there may be some requirements for people on that own properties to have a connection fee of some kind, which is part of the work we're doing to make sure we get the costs right, so we minimise any costs to existing residents. The other element of that is one of the reasons why there's been land identified in the plan itself for perhaps potential greenfield development is because the costs associated with this kind of infrastructure provisions are high, and there is opportunities to leverage new development to offset some of the government funding that would be required to install some sort of system in Goffs Bay. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to be able to provide for future greenfield development within Goffs Bay, as it will help provide that leverage that we might need to assist with a business case going forward.
And through the Mayor, I might just add, we're trying to minimise the costs residents are constrained at the moment. If they want to add for instance, another room on their dwelling, they are constrained by the regulations that exist there at the moment. So this will have benefits for existing residents, but it will, I think, require a capital contribution, and certainly we will be looking for opportunities for that to happen. It's one reason why we want to get certainty on the cost benefit.
Yeah.
That all, councillor? Yeah. Councillors, have you got any questions for Ms. Engling, responsible, or any other officer on this agenda item?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. No. No.
Yeah, I can. That's all. Yeah, I can move the motion that council adopt the Goffs Bay Plan 2025 to inform the preparation of the planning scheme amendment to develop local policies in accordance with the recommendations of the plan, and to commence preparation of a planning scheme amendment to implement the recommendations of the plan.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure, seconding. Do you want to speak to the motion, Councillor Teagan?
Yep, I do. I reckon it's a really good plan. I congratulate the planners, Esther and Miss Embling and everyone else who was involved. It's a really, really thorough plan, and it's had great community backing and involvement from what I see. obviously, the short and long term time frames are pretty well set out and achievable. So I think it's come up really well. Let's hope that for in the long term too, that we can get some money out of the state government. Well, when we do see the integrated wastewater management plan for Goffs Bay, it'll be fantastic, because we'll be really be able to put this plan into place. So, and I'm sure all the residents of Goffs Bay will be very pleased if that happens.
Thank you. Councillor Treasurer, want to speak to the motion, seconder?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to agree with what James said, that they've done an
Yep.
amazing job.
Any other councillor want to speak to or against this motion? In that case, I'll put the motion for the vote. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Thanks, Ms. Engling. Item 13.2.2, the Mansfield Performing Arts Centre joint user agreement, and the responsible officer is Asset Maintenance Officer Chloe Schmeltz. Welcome tonight, Chloe. Haven't seen you for a while.
Thank you. Good evening, all.
Good evening. Councillors, we've been on this for quite some time, so have we got any questions for Ms. Schmeltz? Comments?
Yeah, just with the new booking system, Optimo, is that up and running at the moment, and how's that operating?
I'd have to defer that question, if possible, to General Manager Melissa Crane, if possible.
Yeah, certainly. I'm happy to take that question. Yeah, council officers are finalising the fully operational rollout of Optimo. There is a couple of elements. So there's the ad hoc bookings of us premises that will be done through Optimo, which will be for people that don't have leases and licenses. And then there'll be a section where there's leases and licenses that will have regular bookings, so that where the users will be able to book it themselves. So that is actually, we're looking to have the casual bookings up and running very, very shortly. We've put some more resources into that recently to try and get that one finalised. So that is moving ahead very quickly now.
Okay, that's great to hear, because this MOU, a big part of it, I guess, is that we are able to utilise the facility a lot more. So, yeah, look forward to that, happening.
Any questions, councillors? I've got one. Ms. Schmeltz, on page 64, the NPAC expenditure and income summary, down the bottom, the total expenditure in 2021 was 23,295, not including the cents. And we look as though in 2025 we'll have a 39,282, which is an increase of 32% over 5 years. Have you been forward looking on that with respect to this MOU?
Yeah, particularly that first year of expenditure and income column was greatly affected by COVID still. So we've been recovering ever since, and as a result of that, we're establishing a trend moving forward. And I've gone over these figures with the principal, Tim Hall, who is also comfortable with these estimates.
Yeah, sure. I see that in 2021 and 2022, that right down, and it jumped up exponentially in 23. So that makes perfect sense. Thanks
Using
for
an
that.
average later on, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that explanation. Any other councillors got any questions? In that case, there is a recommendation before us. Councillor Clark.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the council, one, endorse in principle the joint user agreement as presented to enable its submission to the Minister for approval, and two, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to make any necessary editorial adjustments and execute the final joint user agreement upon the receipt of approval by the Minister.
Thank you. And a seconder? Who got the hand up first? Councillor Tehan. Councillor Clark, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, just briefly, please, Mr. Mayor. Just to say that, to echo what Councillor Tian said, I'm looking forward to this being available for the community groups to use. I think it's great to have, we have such a great asset in that building, and I think it'll be really beneficial for the community moving forward and have another venue for our performing arts to actually operate in. So I'm looking forward to it being utilised more often. So well done to the team for the work you put into this JUA. I know it's taken a lot of officer time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Tehan.
Yeah, just good to see we've finally got some facts and figures around the use of this facility. I got quite a shock when I saw the old MOU was from the Delatite Shire Council. So it's taken us a while to get there, but yeah, it's always been a bit of an unknown what's gone on up there. So I congratulate Miss Schmelz, yep, bringing these costs and the work she's done there, and it's really good to see that, you know, we're now being able to look at it and see that we're going to actually not be spending as much money on it, but we're improving the facility, but it's not costing us as much because of this agreement. So I think the ratepayers are the winner out of this, and if, you know, we get more use out of the facility, it actually pay for itself to look after itself. So it's good.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to speak to or against the motion? I'd like to just say one thing before we vote on this. I'd like to say to Chloe Schmelz, well done. This has come to council a couple of times through briefings, and you've been working on this since last year, a long time, and it's a great outcome. So I'm looking forward to voting on it. So those in favour of the motion? And that motion is passed. Thank you, Ishmael.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Item 13.2.3 is the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance MOU and Solar Savers Program. And the responsible officer is Coordinator Waste and Environment, Ms. Melissa Reid. Councillor Brenny, yes. Sorry, wasn't looking in the screen. You have a conflict.
All good.
So
Yes,
can we
thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Brenny into the waiting room? We'll see you in shortly. Yeah.
That's easier than leaving the room.
Yeah. And oh, that's good. All right. So now Councillor Brenny's he's in the waiting room, and we can get on with this. So have you got so who's taking this?
A general manager.
Yeah, Ms. Crane. Yeah, okay. Let me adjust my notes here. Okay, so councillors, have you got any questions for Ms. Crane? Councillor,
So I'd like to move the motion, a motion if I could, Mr. Mayor.
okay,
I'd like to move that council endorses the memorandum of understanding with the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance for execution by the Chief Executive Officer.
okay. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Community treasure. Councillor Tean, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yep, the agenda item also speaks about the Solar Savers program. But having looked into the cost of it and the benefits that it will likely to give to the community, and their track record thus far, I don't think it's something that we ought to look at or to pay membership to. But the benefits of being involved in the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, as outlined in the agenda paper, I think are well worth us being a member of that group at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Treasure, do you want to speak to the motion?
Well, I seconded Councillor Tean's motion on the solar savers. Just my concerns were there's local people who are involved in installing and selling solar panels and things, and they weren't included. So I just don't think it's in our interest to be bypassing local businesses.
Okay. Does anyone else? Well, there's only us two left in the room. Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to or against the motion?
I'd like to speak for the motion. Yep. I agree that we get a great benefit by being part of the Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, definitely. The solar savers at this point in time, I believe, would be an irresponsible choice with the budget and our constraints over the next couple of financial years. And I also think it's an opportunity perhaps for the Climate Alliance to reconsider the cost of being involved in that program. I think it's probably a bit exorbitant in my own opinion, even if it means a bit of a redistribution based on population of the different shires involved. I don't think it should be a standard fee for every shire involved. So I just think there's some room there for them to really explore that program. And yeah, I'm more than happy to look at it in the future because I think the concept is interesting and would benefit some members of our community, but I also think that potentially we could do a similar thing ourselves. So yeah, I don't support it in its current form with our current budget restraints.
Sure. Okay. All right. With that, if we put the motion to a vote, all those in favour, that motion is carried. So we can admit Councillor Brenny back into the meeting now, please. Welcome back, Councillor Brenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
13.2.4 is the compliance policy. And our governance and risk officer who's been here all along, Chelsea Young, welcome officially. Melissa is all right, Ms. Clark. Okay, Crane. So all right, we'll pass it on to her. Councillors, have you got any questions on this agenda item? It's fairly procedural, so no questions. I'll ask for a motion. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, I'll move that council endorses the compliance policy 2025.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Treasure. Do you want to speak to the motion?
Not particularly, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll just say a quick thing that I really appreciate the fact that the council's primary aim is to achieve compliance with a facilitatory approach, and fines and prosecutions are a last resort. I think that's a very community-minded.
Good
approach.
point. Does anyone else want to speak to the motion? In case I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. Item 13.3.1 is the internal audit charter. And I'm assuming, Ms. Crane, you're still a responsible officer.
No,
No.
it's me now.
Oh,
Just swapping.
it's a revolving chair. Well, welcome, Chelsea Young. Councillors, have you got any questions for Ms. Young on this? In that case, there is, and yell out, Councillor Brenny, hard to find you on the screen. So if you yell, please yell out if you want to pass a motion. Yep. Okay. So
Can I move the
Councillor
motion,
Treasurer.
please, Mr. Mayor, that council endorses the internal audit charter 2025.
thank you. Seconder, Councillor Clark. Want to speak to the motion, Councillor Treasurer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Clark.
No, thank you.
Does anyone else want to speak to or against that motion? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Well, the motion is carried. Agenda item 13.3.2, instruments of delegation and appointment authorisation S6 and S11A. Governance and Risk Officer, Ms. Chelsea Young. It's a responsible officer. Councillors, have you got any questions? Procedural matter. In that case,
We, yeah, just one.
do we have a question?
Yeah, just a question. We've had a, briefly endorsed one on the 18th of March, so we've been, which is unusual. We're 3 months later, we're endorsing another one.
So it's just been a change in a position title. It's a new position called Planning Officer, which is a strategic and statutory planner, just blended into one. So they needed to be delegated the correct delegations, which is new as of, I think, in a week. That position does start up.
Yep, okay,
So that's the only difference between
Yep.
what was done in March.
thank you.
I'd like to move a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Page 29.
Yes. Shall I read it?
Well, you can read the first bit and then you could say, as in the agenda, councillor agenda,
Yeah.
page 29.
All right. Well, yes, I'll just move the council revoke the existing and endorse the following ABs and ABs, and also approve Mayor Councillor Steve Raby to sign the endorsement instruments as listed in point 2, and Deputy Mayor Councillor James Hean to witness the signing details on page 29 of the agenda.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
Do you want to speak to the motion, councillor?
I'll
Wait
second
a
it.
second, sorry, I'm finding a seconder. Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to that motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor
No, thank you,
Treasurer. Does anyone else want to speak to or against that motion? Put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 13.4.1 is the station precinct stakeholder group. The responsible officer is Donald Kwan, but I'm assuming that will be the acting executive manager of Capital Works.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome. Councillors, have you got any questions on this item?
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, that these are 3 extra persons on this board, on this
On the committee.
committee. Do we know how many that takes us to on the committee? Anyone? Sorry, that's a question without notice, sorry. Just wondering if what that takes up the committee to, how many people?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that takes us to
12.
12, I think.
12
Yeah,
members.
okay, thank you.
So it's an additional 3. on
3,
top.
so 9 to 12, okay.
And I'll just draw your attention to a typo. That it is Matthew, MAWTHEWMP. So that will have to be addressed in the recommendation if it's passed. Apart from that, are there any other questions or comments on this agenda item? In that case, I'm looking for a recommendation, councillors.
Yeah.
Councillor Clark,
Yeah, look, I'll move that council, one, endorse the terms of reference for the station precinct stakeholder group. And two, endorse the appointment of the following 3 members to be part of the station precinct stakeholder group: Emma Wyking of the Bendigo Bank Community Bank Mansfield and District, Samantha Orr of Mansfield Parkrun and member of Northeast Triathlon Club and Open Water Swim Club, and Matthew Sick MP, Mansfield Mount Buller Cycling Club.
good, and a seconder for that motion,
I'll second it.
councillor Treasure. I do want to speak to the motion, councillor Clark.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to say that whilst it's a larger committee than we normally would do, it's quite a in-depth and varied project with a lot of different moving parts. So I think it'll be good to have these representatives on board, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they come out with for our community.
Sure. Councillor Treasure, you seconded the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Does any other councillor want to speak to or against the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. Item 13.4.2 is the Goffs Bay Playground, and the project coordinator responsible officer is Fabian Pushkan. I'm not sure whether Fabian is coming.
I'll bring myself again, Mr. Mayor.
You're looking after it. That's good. So, yeah, there's no questions on this Goffs Bay Playground.
This is, yeah.
Councillor Tehan.
I'll just give us a little bit of a history of the playground and how it came about being at the site it is, given there was a fair bit of community consultation around where this playground sited. There was a little bit of angst at times, and how's it all settled down, and given we're, pretty much decided on a site.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councillor. Yeah, so we have had quite a lot of engagement on this project. We initially commenced engagement on our Engage platform to seek feedback on 2 locations. And following that engagement, we then held a meeting at the Goffs Bay Boat Club where we invited people who had provided feedback, as well as additional members in the community, to come to this meeting where we discussed and worked through those options. Following that meeting, it was agreed to do a site walk, which was also organised, and we sent out further communications to get people to come along to that meeting, where we actually looked at the 2 locations, and that was where we landed on the site that was selected in the report, based on the overwhelming on the day, the feedback from everyone attending. And that was where we landed on that site, which is put in the recommendation.
Thank you.
Councillors, any other questions for Mr. Noble?
What would be, do you think, the overall percentage then of people who are A, in favour of the playground, and B, in that spot? From what were you able to get pretty good consensus in the end?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so it was 60-40, I believe, before the consultations were held.
Yep.
And the outcome of those consultations on the day was basically that was the majority of people in attendance was at that location that was selected.
Yeah.
And through you, Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I might just add, there was only, from all the engagement that was done, I think there was only ever or people who were actually opposed to having a playground.
Mhm.
The discussion was all over where it would be. So there was a big response to the engagement. I think that was aided by the engagement that was done over the Goffs Bay plan, which sort of ran in parallel. So it certainly got a big response, and yeah, lots of people wanting to have their say about where it went. So I wouldn't say that we had complete agreement, but we certainly did reach a majority view, at the final site walk.
Thank you.
Councillors, any questions? Moaning? No. Nice.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the motion that council notes the engagement undertaken with Goffs Bay community members and endorses the final location selected on Lake Valley Drive for the construction of the new toddler playground.
Second that, Councillor Treasure. Councillor T, you move the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, probably, I had quite a bit of correspondence about this this playground and B, the where it would be sited, and I'd just like to congratulate all those council officers and staff involved in the process. It wasn't an easy process. There was some fairly strong views around it, but I reckon you've done really well, and you've been able to get consensus out of most people, as far as I can see and tell, and as far as I hear. So well done, and I think the playground's ended up in a pretty good little spot. It's not highly visual. It's well shaded and sheltered, and hopefully it gets a lot of use after this process. So well done.
Now, Councillor Treasure, you second the motion. Do you want to speak?
I just wanted to reinforce what Councillor Tan did, that the council officers did an amazing job working through this and finding something that everyone was happy with, or most people.
Roger that. Any other councillor want to speak to or against the motion? In that case, I'll put this motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? That motion is carried. Thank you. Item 13.5.1 is the Friends of the Mansfield Library. Memorandum of Understanding and welcome Coordinator Library Services, Ms. Justine Shelton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Responsible officer. And have we got any questions for Ms. Shelton? Councillors? No?
No, I'll move the motion, no?
Yes. Councillor Clark.
I'll move that council endorses the memorandum of understanding between Mansfield Shire Council and the Friends of the Mansfield Library 2025 to 2029 and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to execute the agreement.
Okay, looking for a seconder now. Councillor.
I'm happy
Did
to
I see
second that.
Councillor Brenny put his hand up? I did. I've written down Councillor Brenny, so well done.
It's on the record.
Yeah, Councillor Clark, you've moved the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
Oh, just to say, I think it's great to have a formal arrangement in place to recognise the work that the Friends do. Their contribution is really significant to the operations of the library, so I'm glad we could put this in place and build a relationship moving forward.
Councillor Brenny, you second the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to echo what Councillor Clark has said, and it's a great example of volunteerism in the community, and great to see the success. That's all.
Any other council want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I reckon it's a well done to the Friends of the Library and the support they give the library. It's a great thing to have them across the road here and have a home for them. I know they've been a little bit homeless at times over the journey, but they've really cemented their place in there well across from the Shire offices. So for people who aren't aware, who may be watching, it's a fantastic bookshop. It's a little bit off the main street, but and I'm told that it's almost impossible to volunteer there because there's so many members trying to volunteer. So I congratulate them, and yeah, so it's great that we've now got a formal arrangement with them.
Yeah. And I don't normally do it, but I'd like to speak to the motion too. The Friends of the Mansfield Library contributed nearly or approximately $12,000 annually to the library. And this MOU formalises the arrangements for this contribution and also formalises the engagement of the Friends of the Mansfield Library with library and advocacy efforts. So I'm really pleased to see this come through. So with that, if there's anyone else that wants to speak, that would only be you, Councillor Treasure.
I feel a bit recalcitrant that I
No,
have to.
that's okay. We'll probably send it for you. I'll put the motion to a vote then. Yeah. Those in favour of the motion. That motion is carried. Thank you. That's great. 13.6.1 is the revenue and rating plan 2025 to 2029. And the responsible officer. Here they come. Welcome. Responsible officers.
Shiny hair.
Welcome, responsible officers, Mr. Alcanaz and Mr. McCormick. On item 13.6.1, the revenue and rating plan 2025 to 2029. Councillors, any questions on this agenda item?
Yep.
Yep.
No one else is.
Go, councillor team.
The municipal charge. I'm going to put you on the spot a bit, guys, here, because council allowed to charge up to 20% in revenue in rate revenue out of the municipal charge. What percentage is it at?
It's I know through you, Mr. Mayor. James is just confirming it, but I think I've got it at about 19.97 or 98%.
Just under that. Yeah.
So it's very close to our 20%.
Yep. Very good. Thank you. That's good. The consistency and fairness of the rating model is based around a sort of an equal distribution year on year of rates. Would you just care to run through and explain that for the benefit of anyone who might be watching and wondering how we actually have gone about deciding setting the rates between each category?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor. With the distribution, we do look at each category to see where the increases apply against the 5 categories that we do use. If we do recognise there could be any imbalance within those categories, those will get reviewed. And then in some cases, as an example, this year with our vacant land category, that has had more assessments that have moved into the residential category. So the overall bucket of it has not necessarily grown as a overall. However, per assessment, they would have grown at a higher percentage than our other categories.
Right, thank you. Got another question. I'm just trying to find it here. Anyone else wants to jump in with something?
I've got a question. While you're waiting there, if you're looking.
No, you go. Yeah.
Yep. My question's about page 40 3 on the agenda item tonight, Emergency Services Volunteer Fund. I note that this will be, the ESVF will be collected through council rates notices. Is that a legislative requirement from the Victorian government?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, this is a legislative requirement for local governments to collect the ESVF through our rates notices.
And I know it might be a question that you might not be able to answer, so it might be a CEO question. What if we don't collect it? What happens?
Happy to answer that.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, well, it'll be a debt that council owes to the state. We are required to pay that debt. It'll be up to the state, obviously, what action they take in relation to council's non-payment, but they are legally able to recover that debt. We're basically holding money on their behalf.
Okay, I've got another couple of questions about this ESVF. How has the state government apportioned this debt? Can you explain to me how it relates to the rate notice, please?
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor, so any amount that council collects through the rates, including both council's rates and the ESVF amount, that is then distributed so that there's the amount that will go to our rates and the amount that is relevant to the ESVF. So any payment, say, that someone makes will be distributed in proportion to the amount that's owing for ESVF and the amount that's owing for council rates, and that is part of the law, the legislation, that council must apportion those payments that are made by ratepayers.
Okay, so taking that one step further, if a ratepayer said, I'm not paying the ESVF this year, and let's say it was apportioned at 25%, we do four collections a year on rates, so they don't pay the last one. So we would then have to pay that to the state government. Is that correct?
They would basically, we would have to apportion whatever they pay.
Yep.
Against rates and against the ESVF. So it means, in effect, council would lose revenue. So we would not be able to, if someone decided I didn't want to pay my irrelevant, a part of it will go to pay the ESVF in proportion with the total amount they pay.
I understand.
Yeah.
And so the other item here on the same page, 43, under the rating category, that the comparisons of the FSPL, which was the original fire services property levy, to the ESVF, the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund. I notice that the residential amount from the 1st of July will increase by 35%. And I also notice that the commercial industrial amount will increase by 64%. Completely out of council's hands. This is a state government, whatever, let's call it a tax. So just putting it on record that that's not, our council are not setting these rates, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's correct.
Councillor Treasurer, you have a question?
Sorry, I just wanted to confirm with the if a ratepayer decided to say their rates were $1,000 and their levy was $500, and they said, well, we'll pay that $1,000 rate, would the state government be entitled to take the 500, or would they take what would be normally 30%?
I might get
Do we-
our
yeah.
financial controller to do the
yeah.
maths on that.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, it's not a mathematical question, but is it a proportional amount?
It
Or
is.
or do they just get their full amount, whatever happens?
Through Mr. Mayor, yeah, it is proportionary.
It's
So
proportionate,
if they
right?
pay 1,000 out of the 1,500 total, we'll then have to then do 66% of the ESVF that was
Okay,
within the rates notice would have to get then collected on behalf of the state and sent to the SRO.
so effectively, we would have to then collect as a bad debt, the proportion of our rates that we'd handed over as the
Yeah,
levy.
our rates arrears essentially would be our percentage of what's unpaid, and there would be again the 33% of the ESPF still to be collected as well.
Right. Yeah, I have another question too. Sorry, Mr. McCormick, putting you under pressure. So our total rate collection for this new financial year, what's just an estimate, somewhere around 14 million, is that correct?
Yes.
So have we worked out what the ESVF component that we are forced to collect would be? Somewhere around 4.5 million? Would that be right?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, because of the what was passed through Parliament, the numbers had changed from where I had earlier calculated it. The number we're
take that on notice.
take that on notice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in that order, isn't it?
But it's up there.
Could be a
It's
little
the-
bit less.
Yeah, because it has come to from 2.6, and with those increases, I think it's probably increased somewhere into 3.5 into that realm.
Yeah, I'm trying to establish a sort of a 14 to 3.64. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all the questions that I had for you. Any other questions?
Well, I think I can answer your question.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's an extra $700,000 collected approximately out of the Shire into the ESVF. Yeah, from the table that's here. Obviously, the primary producers have been exempt for a year. So yeah, but that's $700,000 of ratepayers' money that's going south.
With only 3% public benefit projected.
Question?
Sorry, I was just saying that the
Yeah.
public benefit percentage is incredibly low.
Right, any other questions for the relevant officers? Case, I'm looking at Councillor.
Yeah,
Ben?
I'd like to move that council adopt the revenue and rating plan 2025. 2029.
Yep. Councillor Clark.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Teen, you made the motion, want to speak to it?
Yep, I would just like to say that council have consistently had the strategy where that they where each rating sector from year to year will pay about the same percentage in terms of rates. So I'd just like to highlight that the property valuations this year didn't fluctuate as high as they have in previous years, but we still saw a 2.5% move in residential land and I think a negative 0.6 in farmland and a negative 13.78% in vacant land. So council was able to, in fairness to its ratepayers, adjust the amount that the residential landholders will pay back to in line with the average rate increase, which is 3%. So I think it's shown over the last 5 years to be a very successful rating strategy, and one that we have now written into our revenue and rating plan, which we did last year, which was good to see. And I think it just takes all the guesswork out of different rating groups knowing how much their rates are going to go up by, if they are going to go up by. So well done to the finance team for putting the plan together.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, you second the motion. You want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
There's now other councillor want to speak to that motion? For or against? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Thank you. So the big one, 13.6.2, the budget 2025-26. Same responsible officers. Don't go anywhere. Mr. Alkners and Mr. McFormick. So, councillors, have you got questions for our responsible officers?
Yeah, I'll pose a question through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, sure. Go, councillor Breen.
Thank you. Just one for my own knowledge and those watching. Note that the difference between the CPI being 3.3% and our rates being below the rate cap of 3%, which is a difference of 0.55%. Just in terms of the medium to long term financial risk to council in terms of delivering Shire services, is there any concern about maintaining that rate below, so far below the CPI?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Look, it would if we were no good at budgeting. We've sort of deliberately done that to sort of put the pressure on, partly our teams to look for better ways of spending each dollar. By, I guess, the difference between where we're assessing CPI at 3.3 and our assumptions at 3, we've sort of.
Sorry, I might just clarify, the CPI was actually lower than 3.3.
Right.
So that was the inflation rate, I think.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
That's right.
The assumption for CPI is actually lower, and it is in line with the department, as you would know.
Yeah.
Mr. Alkins is in line with the Treasury Corporation of Victoria.
Yeah, TCB.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
So we use that in the budget assumptions, but the inflation rate has certainly been much higher over the last 12 months. I think that is unless I'm wrong, it's the 3.3% that Councillor Breny's actually referring to. Is going back over the last 12 months as opposed to looking forward.
Yeah. Thanks for the clarity.
Yeah. Just to clarify.
Yep.
I have a question.
Yes,
Mr. Mayor.
councillor Clark.
Thanks for joining us. Just a question around the deficit that we're looking at for the 25-26 financial year. I understand that there are plans in place for us to be recovering our ratios again over the next few financial years. Are there any areas, and I'm happy to take this on notice, but do you have any specific areas that you'll be looking in terms of services that will be contributing to those planned savings? In terms of, are there any specific areas you have identified that will provide a cost saving benefit for us over the next couple of financial years?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, there are a couple. So the key ones that we're focusing on are both in our waste area, but also our IT space. So we have been going through a period of investment to try and basically bring the digital transformation project Cody to life. But we are expecting and forecasting over the next 4 years for our IT costs to reduce over that period. So as one example, there are continued savings that have been realised as part of the collaborative procurement process in the waste space. So those savings are continuing over the 4-year period. So we are enjoying those as we speak.
Yep,
Does that answer your question?
it does. Thank you. Yeah, it does.
I've got a question. If I said to you, referring to the underlying deficit, if I said to you, the underlying result for 2024-25 is not in deficit, and the 2025-26 result is forecast to only be $93,000 in deficit associated with the timing of grant income, which is on page 47 of our document, would you agree with that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
certainly. Yes.
Sorry.
No, indeed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
The
drill
timing,
down on that
the
deficit.
timing of grants and
Yeah.
the expenditure up to the budget period, so between now and the end of the financial year, and we're 5 minutes away from knocking on that door, will have a bearing on that result into next year. So it's as good as even, I guess, from a from a number point of view. And another question I've got for you is that I believe that recently we have been, I suppose, is it renegotiating or there's been we've had a win on some insurance money. Is that correct?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, there is a report, I think, in this agenda for the insurance, or if not, it'll be coming shortly. Which shows we're slightly below on insurance. Oh, yeah. In relation to work cover, we have received an estimate in relation to that. And that is not incorporated into that. That estimate is around about 70,000 below what was assumed in our original budget. We're yet to have that final figure confirmed. So that will be confirmed usually in about August. But yes, there have been some favourable items that have come up since.
Does that make work in our favour?
Yeah.
With respect to that, to Councillor Clark's question.
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
To add to that, sorry, through you,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah. So specific numbers, we've budgeted 391,000 for work cover expenses into 25-26. That's likely to be in that early range of 300,000s, where I guess the major windfall is at this point in time. It's up for review.
Understood. Thank you.
I just have one more question. Based on our conversations from the previous item on the ESVF and the potential impacts it might have on council's bottom line if people aren't able or aren't willing to pay it, and our obligations to pay it, do you believe there's a risk to our current budget situation because of that factor, the impact of that, and our current deficit and the plan for the next few years?
I'm happy to take that one, but the short answer is yes, I think. And that's something that will require careful monitoring through our quarterly our monthly financial reporting, but really as each lot of the rates is struck. We're obviously going to be working hard to get the message out there to community about the issue that we discussed before about the apportioning of any amount that they pay. So that's probably the main strategy that council can take. But obviously we'll be reporting quarterly to council on the progress against our budget, and we'll be trying to take a very conservative view with any additional expenditure that comes up through the year. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Had one, just the key indicators through you, Mr. Mayor, sorry, key indicators within the 25-26 budget. Just saw that asset renewal was 6.9 and the depreciation is only sort of 5.5. Is that sort of a anomaly for that year, or is it a bit of a catch up where the depreciation's dropped off because the assets have sort of fallen away a bit?
Yeah, 3 years.
Or in your opinion?
3 years, 3 years, the Mayor. it is a little bit of a catch up, and part of our through the last few years has been quite considerable catch up where our capital ratio has been quite significantly higher to where it was previously. So it is where we've got a 4-year sort of bracket where that is running quite high, and then because we've done the work through that element, we should see that then start.
That's what you're now. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Councillors, any more questions? Okay, so put has someone got a motion?
Yep.
Tim?
I'm happy.
To read it all out.
You're going to read that one.
It's on
Happy to move
page
the motion, page 53 and 54 of tonight's agenda in relation to the budget.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Treasurer. Councillor Tean, you've moved the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
Yep, sure do. Think it's it's taken a lot of work, this budget, a hell of a lot of work, probably more than a lot that I've sat through in the past. Given that we've had a lot of constraints put on us by pretty much by the state government. I mean, they come out with these great housing and growth statements and tell us that we're going to have a, 60% increase in population over the next by 2050, or 6,900 new houses, and we know that inflation's running at over 3%. Yet their rate cap's around 3%, but then they're quite happy to go and slug us with another tax, which is well over 100, 150, up to 300% in some cases. So I really think that they ought to take a leaf out of local government's book when they issue these broad-based statements. I think this budget in itself, having said that, I think it's a good budget given the financial pressures that are on small local businesses, but also on council and the way it operates. And, we've been able to keep the rate under the rate cap because we do understand what those cost of living pressures are out in the community. And we do see where there are other taxes coming in on top of it, such as the fire services levy tax. So, but on the other hand, it's still $22 million worth of capital works being spent here, which is, I hate saying it, but a near record, I think, in terms of what we've spent from year to year. There's a lot of projects that we're doing and catching up on, which is great to see, because if we are going to grow at those ridiculous levels that the state government are imposing on us, then this is still nowhere near enough in terms of capital works that we need to spend on this shire. I can't really see, if we have population growth like that, if we're held to that, I don't know how we will survive or how we will keep up going down the track. But getting back to this budget, we've got some really good proposals. One of them is the waste charges. I mean, we've got a reduction of 6.1% for most people. Well, for people who don't have FOGO, and 4.5% for people who do have FOGO, which is significant for them in this budget. So congratulations to the waste team for the way they've been able to operate and find savings, and congratulations to the ratepayers and the people who have taken up the FOGO and have made it work. We've got a 42% this month diversion from landfill, which is fantastic. So, but again, on the other hand, we've got to combat, EPA charges that are going to be increased significantly over the next few years. So I think you know, on one hand, we're really fighting for our ratepayers and looking to keep costs under control. On the other hand, you're just battling this, you know, this state government, which is out of control, which is with its costs. So, I think there's a lot. I think we've answered a lot of the submissions that were put to council, all 117 of them over the last year, and most of those have been we've been able to include in this budget. There are numerous other projects that we're going to be able to do this year, and I think it's a very responsible budget in that respect. So I'd like to commend all the people who had input in this, and I know it's the whole organisation. It goes from the top right down. Everyone has their say on what they think the staff do and the general community have, and so I'd just like to say well done to everyone on that in that respect, and let's hope we can follow through with it through the year, which I'm sure we'll be able to.
Thanks, councillor Teen. Councillor Treasurer, second the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
I'll just say well done to the finance team and to everyone for you know, to taking the attitude of keeping costs as low as they can, rather than just pushing it to the rate cap that we can. So, and I'm sure the ratepayers and the general community appreciate the effort. We do as councillors.
Thank you. Councillors, any other councillor want to speak to or against the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to speak for the
Councillor
motion.
Clark, yep.
Yep. Yeah, just again to reiterate, acknowledging the amazing work that the team have done, the staff have done, to prepare this budget and going over it with a fine-tooth comb. And there have been some really challenging constraints, and though there is a period of really tight liquidity and our working capital and our cash ratios are well below benchmark and where we want to be, I am excited to see how the plan works out, because I know you're working really hard to improve that situation. So I believe in the power of our staff and the ability to carry us through. And we know we rely really heavily on capital grants, and with the ESVF and some of the assumptions we're making around there, if they don't hold, there's going to be little room for error there. But yeah, hopefully we've got some plans in place. And look, supporting the budget, it doesn't mean overlooking the risks that are evident in it with our situation, but it means recognizing them and committing ourselves to really strong financial oversight. So I appreciate the team's insight on that, and having a working council that is committed to that for all of our residents. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other councillor want to speak for or against the motion? All right, we'll put that motion to a vote.
Sorry, just one thing that I'd like to just say, which I was meant to. I think just with the discussion around the emergency services levy before, and the discussion was a little bit focused on what if people don't pay. If I could just say that I'd encourage everyone to pay it, because it's only going to hurt this organisation if you don't pay it. I understand the significance of having to pay it, but it's not council, it's not the state government you'll hurt by not paying it. It's local government, and it's your council. So yeah, be very mindful of that when you see it. And we were obviously going to highlight where the money's going, and if you don't want to pay it, take that up with the state government and your local government members rather than council.
Yeah, well, on that point, 13.6.4, we'll get to discuss that later in the agenda items, so, which is the opposition to the tax.
Yep.
Yeah, well said. Thank you for bringing that out. So yeah, we're going to put this motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried, and if you please allow me to talk about the budget. Now it's passed. I've got something to say. I'm pleased to be presenting this fiscally responsible budget in very hard economic environment. This budget gets the best bang for your buck as a resident or a ratepayer. It continues Council's commitment to listening to our community and to managing ratepayer and resident funds effectively. Look, times are tough for everyone at the moment, and just as the community faces economic pressure, so does Council. We face that as well. This year, Council has been able to deliver a rate rise of just 2.75%, which is lower than the cap set by the government's fair go rate system of 3%. It's also lower than the real cost of inflation over the past year, which has been closer to 3.3%. Your money is not wasted in this Shire. Council has been able to reduce the costs of its residents and ratepayers by carefully reviewing of its own expenses and considering how do we make strategic changes to spending overall. For example, we reviewed the council expense policy to formalise that there is now no mayoral vehicle. This was done to free up those important funds for community use. Not only have we made strategic decisions to reduce our spending, we have had to consider an intensive 4-year capital works program that needed to address long-standing legacy issues. This means we're now in a more sustainable position to maintain and renew assets. For example, instead of having to do significant work to fix our roads, we can maintain them in good condition with standard maintenance, such as laying gravel on the road regularly. Council has made some difficult decisions over the course of the last 6 months, and I'd like to say to all councillors, it's been hard decisions, but they've been responsible decisions, and thank you, councillors, for making those decisions. We've workshopped, we have reviewed this budget ongoing over the last six months. All councillors have worked hard on this and thoroughly considered every dollar that's been spent. As part of the work Council has done, we reviewed 117 submissions that came through from the community and considered every one. Some of the submissions included in this year's budget include extending the new shared footpath from Houp Inlet to the caravan park in collaboration with the community volunteers, upgrade of Walsh's Road, Goffs Bay, with an additional 1 kilometre of road sealing. That'll be completed over the next 2 years in consultation with DECA, obviously. Township sealing programs continued with upgrades for Church Street and New Street, Mansfield. Extending shared path along Goffs Bay, Perry's Road to Mountain Bay Drive and along Mansfield. So we're doing more with every dollar. The capital works program's worth 22.28 million, with 13.9 million from government grants and 99,000 from development contributions. Some of the key infrastructure projects that will be delivered in this budget, the impact route, Heighton Lane, Rifle Butts Road, etc. I won't go on with that because it's a long list. But there is an underlying deficit of $93,000, as discussed tonight, described in this budget, which is dependent on the timing of income related to capital funding. The annual report for 24-25 is forecast to show an underlying surplus of $2.495 million. This is all in alignment with our 10-year plan. I encourage you to look at Council's financial strategy, which assumes an average and not the ups and downs in accounting that occur with large grant income timed irregularly. In future years, an expanded capital works program supported by successful grant funding continues to demonstrate an underlying surplus. So thanks everyone for listening to that. And thank you, councillors, for passing a very responsible and well thought out budget. So I think we're on to 13.6.3, the insurance renewal. Mr. McCormick's the responsible officer, and councillors, any questions for Mr. McCormick on this agenda item? Councillor team.
Yes, Mr. McCormick, big insurance bill, $485,000. One of the is made up of the LMI, which is local government liability insurance. Can you just give us and it's gone up, I believe, by 5 to 10%, or looking to be going up by that much. What does this line item give us, and how is it calculated?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So with the with this insurance, this is where it's the group of all the municipals within Victoria, where we're looking at all general, we're sort of grouping all our risk within the municipals of Victoria. So we're going as a, with the others, I don't know the exact numbers if it's every council in Victoria, but it's a very high number of councils in Victoria that we're collectively going into the one bucket. So there's any insurance claims that are extremely excessive from a liability side of things, that our policy increases with the whole of Victoria's sort of risk to claims, not just Mansfield Shire Council. I think within a smaller council like ours, it's very responsible to be linked to the larger body if there was a significant incident within our shire.
Is it compulsory? It's not compulsory, is it, that we
No.
that we use whatever group it was, JLT, was that something? Provide this one. JMA people, or JLT, yeah. So we could shop outside of that, but in your recollection, have we used this liability in the past? We have. You can see what example of that is we've used it.
It was in relation to a claim that was made in relation to a planning matter and a contaminated site.
Yep.
So that's where council can be exposed to significant risk in land contamination.
Yeah.
And the policy was certainly very useful in that instance. Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions, councillors? In that case, it's a recommendation on page 57, the agenda. Councillor Treasure.
That council authorises the chief executive officer to accept the offer and approve payment of invoices relating to Mansfield Shire Council's 25-26 insurance renewal for a total estimated amount of $485,331.94, excluding GST, plus applicable stamp duty, policy administration fees, and GST.
All right. Have I got a second to the motion?
I want to.
Someone's got to.
Jump the gun there.
Yeah, all right, I'll say.
Councillor Clark. Councillor Treasurer, if you move the motion, do you want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to it?
Nothing to
In case anyone else want to speak to the motion, any other councillor or against the motion? I'll put the motion to a vote. Those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. I believe that's it for you two gentlemen. Well done. Thank you for your attendance tonight. Item 13.6.4.
Thanks.
Opposition to the Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund. The responsible officer is our CEO, Kirsten Alexander. Councillors, got any questions or anything else? No? All right. There's a recommendation on page 60. Councillor Clark?
Yep, I'll move the recommendation as worded on page 60, exactly as worded on page 60.
Okay.
I won't read it out, it is 6.
Yes, it's quite a large. I've got it.
And I'll second
Cat.
that, please, Mr Mayor.
Yes. Councillor Treasure. Councillor Clark, you've put the motion up. Would you like to speak to it?
Just to say thank you to yourself and Deputy Mayor and other councillors and council staff for the work they've put in so far on advocating for our community against this. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure, second the motion. You want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Does any other councillor would like to speak to this motion? Are you sure?
Oh, no, the motion's
Pretty
very,
simple.
very
Yep,
straightforward. Yep, as it says there. Yeah, I mean, I've probably said enough about it.
Okay, I'd like to speak to the motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would. And I don't want to steal the thunder.
As in the agenda tonight, on the council meeting on the 12th of February 2025, we recognised, and one of the first shires to recognise, that this was an unfair tax, and a burden on all of our Mansfield residents and ratepayers. We unitedly, all 5 councillors, took a stand against this, and we have been walking lockstep since then with our we do not advocate, we don't agree with this tax. We don't agree with the incredible increase in percentage that's going to hurt everyone, from renters all the way through our society. We still do not agree with it, and I'm glad that this motion has got up and been seconded, and I wholeheartedly agree with every word in there. And if it does go through tonight, I will continue as mayor to fight as hard as I can for everyone in this shire, as will, I'm sure, all councillors will, to stop this. So without saying too much more, I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour of the motion? That motion is carried. Thank you. And just one thing on Councillor Tian's comment before. I will say we will fight very, very hard to stop this, and we need everyone in the community to support us, but not paying the tax is probably not the way to do it. That will just hurt our shire, and it'll hurt the residents and ratepayers. So if you can work with us, we will endeavour to do this another way rather than just not paying it, a knee-jerk reaction. So I appreciate you saying that tonight, Councillor Tan. It's enough. So item 14, council meeting resolutions, actions, status register. And there is, I'll take that as read, councillors. There's a recommendation there. Councillor Tan.
I move that council receive a note the Mansfield Shire Council meeting resolutions action status register as the 16th of June 2025.
Thank you. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Clark. Do you want to speak to that?
No, thanks.
Councillor Clark?
Nothing.
Does any other councillor want to speak? Put it to the motion. All those in favour? Passed. Item 15.1, the Audit and Risk Committee meeting agenda and minutes, and I will take that as read as well, councillors. There's a recommendation there. Councillor,
That council
Lady
received the
Treasurer.
agenda and minutes of the Mansfield Shire Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on Monday, the 26th of May, 2025.
thank you, and I've got a seconder for the motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor Clark. Do you want to speak for the motion?
Is it enough about all of this?
Clark,
No, thank you.
anyone else want to speak for the motion? Put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 16, authorisation of sealing of documents is nil, I believe. Item 17, the closure of meeting to members of the public so that we can go to confidential reports. Councillor Clark.
Yep, I'd like to move the council close the meeting to members of the public under section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider confidential reports in accordance with section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 for reasons set out in section 18 below.
Thank you. Have I got a seconder for the motion?
Yes, that's a bit.
Councillor Treasurer, all those vote in favour of the motion? Motion is carried, and we will be back shortly if you're watching online to discuss some confidential reports.
Welcome back.
Back on?
Yep.
Welcome back, everybody. We left the meeting to go into a confidential meeting, and I'm happy to report that council has awarded contract for the construction of the Highton Lane roundabout to Alpine Civil. We have also awarded a contract to Hennessy Constructions for the Lord's Reserve public toilet upgrade. So two great outcomes there. That'll be further reported in when we do the minutes of the meeting. So I'd like to thank all my councillors this evening for passing that responsible budget. It was a lot of work. Thank you, councillors, and thank you to all of the staff at the Shire for everything that they've done on the budget as well, and all the work tonight. So I'd like to say we will close that meeting at 19:08 hours. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
See you, Tim. Thanks.